Your parents said you're not allowed in. The security guard didn't raise his voice, he didn't have to. Everyone behind me heard it anyway. I stood at the entrance of the waterfront venue in my satin dress, holding the silver-wrapped gift I had spent 2 weeks choosing for my sister, Celeste. Through the glass doors, I saw my mother, Mile, turn her head just enough to notice me. Then she looked away. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for updates. My father, Dorian, placed a hand on her back and guided her inside like I was a stranger causing a scene. I swallowed hard. There must be a mistake, I'm the bride's sister. The guard glanced down at his tablet, Leonora Vale. Yes. His jaw tightened, then there's no mistake. Behind him, guests drifted into the glowing ballroom, their jewelry flashing under the chandeliers. A cousin saw me, froze, then hurried inside without saying a word. I called Celeste, no answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. A wedding coordinator came over, pale and nervous. I'm sorry, but the instruction came directly from the family paying for the event. My family, I said. She didn't respond. Then she reached behind the welcome table and quietly removed an envelope with my name on it. That was when I knew this wasn't confusion, it was planned. The rain started lightly, dotting the pavement around my heels. I stepped back from the doors as another couple entered, whispering after they passed me. Months of helping Celeste choose flowers, revise seating charts, calm vendor disasters, and recommend this exact venue through an old business contact. All of it ended with me standing outside like an embarrassment they needed hidden. I checked the hotel app to distract myself. My reservation had been cancelled. Before I could process that, something shifted inside the ballroom. Staff started rushing across the lobby. A man with a headset ran toward the ceremony doors, the music faltered. 15 minutes later, my phone rang. Mom. The second I answered, she screamed. The venue manager just shut down the wedding, he said it's because of you. I stood up slowly. What did you do, Leonora? Across the lobby, the front doors opened. And the venue manager walked straight toward me. The man approaching me looked nothing like the frantic staff rushing behind him. While everyone else inside the venue moved in panic, he walked with calm, measured steps. Leonora Vale, he asked. I nodded cautiously. I'm Elias Mercer, venue manager. His eyes flicked briefly toward the ballroom doors. Would you come with me? I stared at him. My mother just accused me of shutting down the wedding. Yes, he said evenly, that's part of the problem. Instead of leading me away from the building, Elias held the lobby door open and guided me inside. The same security guard who blocked me minutes earlier stepped aside immediately. Guests near the entrance turned to stare as I passed. My parents weren't there anymore, they'd disappeared deeper into the venue. Elias led me down a quiet hallway into a private office overlooking the marina. The muffled sound of confused voices echoed through the walls as he closed the door behind us. Then he asked a question that made no sense. Why were you denied entry to your own property? I blinked at him. What? He opened a file folder on the desk and rotated it toward me. At the top of the page was my name. Leonora Vales. Underneath it, majority ownership transfer authorization. I recognized your name during check-in, Elias explained. When your parents instructed security to remove you from the property, I checked the ownership records. My stomach tightened. No, I said quietly, you have the wrong person. I don't. He slid another document toward me. Suddenly, I recognized the signature at the bottom. Mine. A memory hit me instantly. 3 months earlier, Graham Holloway's funeral. Graham had been one of the few adults who ever took me seriously. He owned several luxury venues across the coast and had mentored me whenever I helped with hospitality events. After the funeral, my parents rushed me into a side office. Just routine estate paperwork, my father had said impatiently. You're holding everyone up, my mother snapped when I hesitated. I remembered signing documents through tears while relatives waited outside. Now Elias tapped the papers carefully. These transferred controlling shares of the venue group to you after Mr. Holloway passed away. I stared at him in disbelief. That's impossible. It's legal, he said, and fully registered. My chest felt hollow. All these months my parents had handled every conversation afterward, every email, every update, every don't worry about it. And I'd believed them. Elias leaned back slightly. Your parents contacted us this morning demanding you be denied entry before guests arrived. Why? Because once I confirmed ownership records, he paused, I refused. A sharp ache spread through my chest as memory after memory surfaced. My parents mocking my career choices, dismissing my ideas publicly, yet quietly handing me responsibilities whenever they needed work done. I looked down at the papers again. Why would they hide this from me? Elias held my gaze for a long moment. Because if you walked into that ballroom tonight, he said quietly, they lose control. At that exact second, the music outside cut off in the middle of the ceremony. Everything went silent. The silence lasted only a second before chaos erupted outside the office. Voices overlapped in the hallway. What's happening? Why did the music stop? Did someone faint? Elias stood immediately, stay close to me. My pulse hammered as he opened the office door. Staff hurried past carrying tablets and radios, while guests spilled from the ballroom into the lobby in confused clusters. Then someone pointed at me. There she is. Whispers spread instantly. Leonora's here. I thought she wasn't invited. Didn't she refuse to come? Elias walked beside me toward the ballroom entrance before I could lose my nerve. Inside, the ceremony had completely stopped. Celeste stood frozen near the altar in her wedding gown, bouquet lowered at her side. Her fiancé looked equally confused, while hundreds of guests turned toward the entrance the second we walked in. And then my mother saw me. Her expression hardened instantly. She did this, Miles snapped, pointing directly at me. She's trying to sabotage your wedding because she couldn't stand not being the center of attention. The room shifted uncomfortably. I opened my mouth, but Elias spoke first. Mrs. Vale, he said calmly, the venue is currently operating under the legal authority of Leonora Vale. A stunned silence hit the ballroom. My father stepped forward aggressively. That's incorrect. It's documented, Elias replied. You need to handle this privately, Dorian hissed. But it was already too late. Guests were staring openly now. One of my aunts frowned. Wait, if Leonora owns the venue, why was security keeping her outside? Celeste turned sharply toward our parents, outside. Mile immediately answered for me. She refused to attend weeks ago. That's not true, I said quietly. Celeste looked confused. Mom told me you said you didn't support the marriage. What? Dorian pulled out his phone quickly. We have the messages. He showed Celeste screenshots of texts, supposedly sent from my number. Cold spread through me as I read them. You always get everything. I don't want to watch another fake family performance. I won't be there. The messages were fake. I never sent those, I said. Several relatives exchanged uneasy looks. One cousin suddenly spoke up. That's weird, your mom told us Leonora had some kind of breakdown. Another added, I heard she threatened to embarrass the family. The stories didn't match. And people noticed. You could actually feel the room shifting. Celeste slowly lowered her bouquet. You lied to me. Celeste, Mile warned. But Elias interrupted again. There's another issue, he said. The payment authorization attached to tonight's event triggered a legal hold because only the majority owner can approve final venue release. Everyone turned toward me again. Miles' composure cracked for the first time. Leonora, she said quickly, stepping closer, just sign the authorization so we can continue the ceremony. Then we'll sort everything else out privately. I stared at her. Minutes ago, she wouldn't even let me through the door. Now she needed me. Celeste looked between us in disbelief. What is going on? Dorian suddenly snapped. You don't understand what's attached to those documents. The entire ballroom went still. And for the first time that night, I realized this had never been only about the wedding. Elias led us out of the ballroom before the arguments could explode further. My parents followed immediately. So did Celeste. Behind us, guests kept whispering as staff quietly closed the ballroom doors to contain the scene. Even then, voices carried through the hallway. What documents? Did they fake those texts? She owns the venue. The four of us were escorted into a private conference room overlooking the water. Thick folders already sat on the table beside two open laptops. That was the moment I realized this situation had moved far beyond family drama. Elias shut the door carefully. Company attorneys are reviewing financial records right now. My father's face darkened. You had no right. I had every right, Elias replied. The ownership conflict froze venue operations. Celeste looked back and forth between everyone. Can somebody finally tell me what's happening? Elias opened one of the folders and slid several documents toward us. These were flagged after tonight's authorization issue. I leaned forward slowly. Attached to the original ownership transfer were additional amendment forms I had never seen before. Several sections attempted to redirect profits from the venue company into outside holding accounts. But the signatures were incomplete. Unsigned. My stomach dropped. Celeste looked confused. What is this? Dorian answered immediately. Administrative restructuring. Elias didn't even react. That's inaccurate. My mother crossed her arms tightly. We were protecting the family. By hiding ownership records, Elias asked. She was never capable of handling a company, Dorian snapped, pointing at me. Leonora is naive, emotional. Graham trusted people too easily near the end. Something in Celeste's expression shifted. Near the end, she repeated quietly. She picked up one document and checked the date. Then another. Her eyes widened. These were drafted while Graham was hospitalized. Nobody answered. Celeste looked at our parents carefully now. He was heavily medicated then. The silence in the room became suffocating. Elias spoke carefully. There are concerns regarding whether Mr. Holloway fully understood certain financial revisions presented during that period. My father slammed a hand against the table. This is ridiculous. But for the first time, he sounded nervous instead of angry. My mother turned toward me suddenly. This is exactly what you wanted, isn't it? She snapped. You couldn't stand seeing your sister happy for one day. I stared at her in disbelief. For years, I said quietly, I handled everything you didn't want to deal with. I planned events for you, covered mistakes for you, worked for free whenever you asked. Neither of them interrupted. You used me whenever it benefited you, I continued, my voice shaking now. But the second I mattered publicly, you erased me. Outside the conference room, muffled voices grew louder as rumors spread through the venue. Celeste slowly sat down. Then she looked directly at our father. Why was Leonora really blocked from the wedding? Dorian rubbed a hand across his face. No answer came at first. Then finally, if she interacted with management staff, he admitted quietly, she could have discovered the ownership transfers. Celeste stared at him like she didn't recognize him anymore. A sharp knock interrupted the room. The door opened. A company attorney stepped inside holding another stack of files. No one is leaving yet, he said calmly. We need to secure all records connected to the estate. Behind me, my mother suddenly began crying as security closed the ballroom doors outside. The wedding never resumed. By midnight, the ballroom looked nothing like the polished celebration Celeste had planned for over a year. Half-empty champagne glasses sat abandoned on tables. Floral centerpieces drooped under dimmed lights. Guests clustered in tense groups around the lobby, whispering as attorneys and venue staff moved between offices carrying files and laptops. Inside the conference room, the full truth finally came out. Years earlier, Graham Holloway had quietly changed his estate plans after discovering irregular transfers connected to accounts managed by my parents. According to the documents his attorneys produced, he no longer trusted Mile and Dorian, to oversee the venue company after his death. Instead, he transferred majority ownership to me. Not because I asked for it. Because he believed I would protect the business honestly. He documented everything, Elias explained as another folder was placed on the table, including concerns about financial pressure during his hospitalization. Celeste covered her mouth as she read through handwritten notes from Graham himself. One sentence had been underlined twice. Leonora is the only one who never asked me for anything. My father leaned back heavily in his chair, saying nothing. My mother tried one last time to regain control. You're twisting this, she said sharply. We were trying to preserve the family. But the evidence kept piling up. Unauthorized distributions. Hidden holding accounts. Drafted amendments timed during Graham's medical decline. And finally, the reason they blocked me from entering the wedding at all. They were terrified venue staff would recognize my name and expose the ownership records before they finished redirecting the company's profits. Celeste looked physically sick. My wedding, she whispered. One of the attorneys answered carefully. Some of the funding appears connected to those accounts. The room went dead quiet. I watched my sister slowly remove her veil and place it on the table. Not dramatically. Just exhausted. Then she looked at me. And for the first time that entire night, there was no suspicion in her expression, no distance. Only regret. You were the only honest person in this family, she said quietly. My mother immediately started crying harder. Celeste, don't do this. But Celeste stood up and stepped away from both of them. Outside the room, word spread quickly among the remaining guests. Some left immediately after hearing about the investigation. Others confronted my parents openly in the lobby after learning I had been intentionally blocked from the wedding. The carefully managed image my parents spent years protecting collapsed in a single night. Within days, company attorneys seized financial records from my father's office. Investigations began into estate manipulation and unauthorized transfers tied to Graham's accounts. Dorian lost multiple executive positions connected to the venue group and affiliated businesses. Relatives who once ignored me stopped speaking to my parents entirely after discovering the fake screenshots Mile used to turn the family against me. Celeste cut contact with both of them not long after the wedding disaster. A month later, she met me privately for coffee. No wedding dress, no audience, no excuses. Just a quiet apology. I should have called you myself, she admitted. I didn't know how to answer at first. Because part of me was still grieving the version of our family I'd spent years trying to hold together. But another part finally understood something I'd ignored my entire life. Loyalty meant nothing to people who only valued control. The venue company officially transferred fully under my management that winter. At first, I almost sold everything. The pressure felt overwhelming. But every time I considered walking away, I remembered Graham sitting beside me during my first hospitality internship years ago, telling me I was better at this than I believed. So I stayed. Months later, I walked through the same waterfront ballroom during a charity event hosted under my leadership. The chandeliers glowed against the glass walls overlooking the marina. Staff greeted me warmly as I passed. Nobody avoided eye contact anymore. Nobody whispered. Near the entrance, I paused at the exact spot where security had blocked me in the rain the night of the wedding. For a moment, I could still picture myself standing there alone with that wrapped gift in my hands. Except now the doors opened automatically the second I approached. And this time nobody could shut me out. The wedding they tried to erase me from became the night their control over me ended forever.